There's no blueprint on how to beat me.
They got an ad with him.
Joe Louis had come out of retirement to fight Rocky Marciano. The man was 76 years old.
Your biggest payday is facing me. Without me, you're not getting shit.
One down, one to go.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Allow me to demonstrate the skill of Shaolin, the special technique of shadow boxing.
Now that was a great boxer.
Damn right.
Kill him, buddy. The head will die. I'll leave Frazier fight.
All right, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Money Mark coming at you guys. Another edition of Two to the Body Podcast. Two to the Body Podcast.
Get him up
Always with me is your boy Money Mark, and of course, I got with me my main dude, One Way Renzo. Say hi to the people.
What's up, people? How y'all doing, man? How y'all doing? Yeah, okay. The people have spoken. The people said they need more. Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Okay.
There you
All right,
go.
Cool. People have spoken.
I'm a real American. Fight for the right of every man. Every
We
time
play the
I
song
say
right
that,
now, but YouTube will demonetize us because
if we play the Pastor Troy
YouTube.
song, people will probably celebrate us. I don't know.
The Pastor Troy. Everybody celebrates for the pastor. They call me the pastor. You know, at the beginning of because I wasn't familiar with down south hip hop, especially until I came down south for school. I honestly thought Pastor Troy was a gospel rapper.
Hey man, and in a way he is.
Yeah, no, he's not. No, he's not.
And in a way he is. Pastor Troy in the congregation. Pastor Troy for president, baby.
Pastor Troy for president. Pete Troy.
Yeah. Before
Pete
Obama, it was Pastor Troy.
Well, everybody. So this is Two to the Body Podcast. We break things in these segments out into rounds every segment or every episode. And we got a couple rounds for you. So I think we should go ahead and ring that bell.
Bing, bing.
That's where you get put the graphic.
Ding, ding. There we go. Ding.
And
ding.
started off with the first round. One Way, what you got for us?
Hey man, look, it's with a heavy heart that I have to have this conversation. But recently, one of my favorite fighters, one of my favorite people to have ever graced the octagon, Jon Jones, has come under fire for another issue of domestic violence. I can ignore that shit. And I have been ignoring that shit. I have been ignoring a lot of the things he's been doing. I will continue to ignore those things, and I will continue to appreciate the art that is that of him fighting. However, having said all that, hey man, Jon Jones is wrong and he's needed help for a long time. What I don't appreciate about this situation is that now that he is not the light heavyweight champion, now that he is on this I guess not on, but inside this heavyweight purgatory, I do not appreciate his longtime manager, his longtime cornerman. I do not appreciate.
No, the manager too. The manager too.
I do not appreciate these guys kicking him out of the gym at this point of his career, because this is something that you should have been a part of a long time ago. This is something that you could have stopped a long time ago. This is something that you accepted for a long time. And it is quite funny that when a lot of these things have dried up and the behavior seems to be worse when this man is not a champion any longer, that you have the audacity to have the same position that you should have had from the very first time he had an issue with a woman. Now, I understand that we are living in a different world right now, and you have to take care of these things. Those things aren't wrong. People need to be held accountable. But those people holding people accountable, they need to be held accountable as well for the things they let slide for so long. I'm sorry I went there. I know you weren't expecting it that way. But hey, that's how I feel about this particular situation. Jon Jones is wrong. Jon Jones needs to be punished. Jon Jones being punished from his gym is great, but it should have been the first time. When he tested positive, he should have been banned from that gym if they didn't know what was going on. The other times he had a hit and run, he should have been banned from that gym. It's been a bunch of times we can name. I'm a Jon Jones fan. There's 100 times I can name where he should have been checked by his gym.
Okay. Can I rebuttal?
Yeah, go right ahead. Please do, man. That's all we hear.
Okay, so first of all right, number one. So I agree that maybe something should have happened beforehand. This is probably not the first time we should see this happening. I agree to that to some degree. What I will also say to you is that a lot of the occurrences that Jon Jones has done, if you do some research, Dana White actually alluded to it like a couple interviews ago because he's, obviously this is the hot topic. And of course, he's talking about it. But Dana White even alluded to it that a lot of these occurrences are things that these fighters are kind of doing. For example, juicing.
Yeah.
There was called the TRT era, right? There was a point in time where damn near all you had to do was be like, hey, my testosterone's a little low.
Hey, man,
like, here you go.
And then
you could just kick people's eyes out. Vitor Belfort.
Yeah,
right?
True.
There was a time period where everybody, if you had a cool doctor, you can get your hands on anything. You can get your hands on boar meat, whatever you got to get your hands on.
Absolutely.
Whatever.
Absolutely, man.
It's funny because I don't even know where to find boar meat. Boar meat sounds like it might be all right, but they can find it.
Really good.
You can't find that at Walmart.
Really,
you can't find that at Aldi's.
Really fresh.
Probably can't even find that at Whole Foods. Where do you find boar meat at?
No,
but they seem to find it.
Yeah. Mexico.
Okay.
The UK.
Okay. The Jalisco.
The
supplements.
Hey man, don't say Jalisco disrespectfully.
I won't. I say that with all due respect, sir. All due. Yeah, I know where you're going with that joke. But anyways, like I said, so all I'm saying is that, a lot of these things were things that it wasn't that super uncommon. I mean, you got, first and foremost, you're dealing with you're dealing with a sport that's fairly new, right?
Yeah,
so
okay.
like the long-term effects of when it comes down to CTE or whatever the case may be in MMA, like the legends of the sport are just now getting old. We're just now seeing what's going on with Stephan Bonner. We're just now seeing what's going on with Chuck Liddell. Even though I heard Chuck Liddell's situation wasn't really that. I heard Chuck Liddell's situation was actually fairly different, which we don't need to necessarily get into that. But I mean, basically, Chuck Liddell, according to reports, it doesn't seem like Chuck Liddell's situation. He actually seemed like he was the victim, and he just chose to go to jail, so his wife didn't have to go to jail. Apparently, that's how that started.
Hey, somebody got to go to jail when the police pull up.
No, that's how that works with domestic violence.
Yeah.
If there's a domestic violence call, someone has to go to jail. Yeah. And apparently he didn't know that. The sheriffs let him know that. And he said, well, I'm not sending my wife to jail.
Hey, obviously, and this, we're going off hearsay. Neither one of us has experience with these situations.
Obviously.
Yeah.
I'm going off of,
I understand, somebody got to go to jail.
Other podcasts that are more popular than ours.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going off of. So apparently that's what that situation is going on. But we don't really know. The golden age of MMA is just now getting to the point where we will start seeing the long-term effects of MMA. So we really don't know. So, apparently like a lot of crazy behavior is just kind of common. If you think about it, like Cowboy is over here almost killing himself, jumping into like whirlpools and shit. I mean, he is. You got who's the fella that called Michael Jai White the N-word? What's his name? Come on, we know him. He fights in the same division. He got beat by Cowboy.
Oh my gosh. Mike Perry. Mike Perry
is just known for crazy like behavior. I mean, it's kind of like why we like him. Yeah. Conor McGregor just seems to just punch everybody. Like he gets drunk and punches everybody. So I mean,
I get what you're saying.
So all I'm saying is this: is that crazy behavior has always been a thing. I think with why Mike Winkeljohn made the decision to do that is because this one hit home to him. Now, where you can try to peel back and try to see hypocrisy, that hit and run was a pregnant lady, right? So you can kind of make, well, hey, and he ran from that. He ran from that one.
I mean, what about the incident with the waitress?
Like I said, he he has a daughter, apparently, and that was the one that hit home. It wasn't necessary. And honestly, what it is that this is what it is.
No, this is the incident. I'm talking about the incident with the other waitress.
No, I already know what you're talking about, the incident with the waiter. I know. What I'm saying is this. when you're looking at this situation, I think that the thing that makes everyone kind of go is the fact that the ability for calling it hearsay is completely null and void. Like you could if you really wanted to enable Jon, or if you really wanted just to be a believer in Jon, and Jon does paint a beautiful picture to make you believe in him. He's always quoting Christ and he's always doing all this and that, but there's always reasonable doubt when all these other situations. You could kind of say like, hey, Jon made this, that, he may have freaked out, I'm going to be there for him, so on and so forth. What I think a lot of people kind of go, hey, fuck that in this situation is the fact that the little girl said, call the police. That is the one that's like ringing in everyone's head. Because the mom is saying that nothing happened. The mom is kissing him on Instagram. It's all good. All that. But the fact that the little girl said, call the police. And little girls don't lie for real. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't want their dad going to jail.
Now you definitely have a point with the little girl calling and it making it seem
a lot worse.
Not making it seem, it is a hell of a lot worse when the kids are there. I'm just saying that this man was Jon
Makes
Jones.
Him sound like a Lifetime movie. It makes him sound like a Lifetime movie.
This is coming. Let me mind you, this is coming from a guy who sees LeBron James, Deontay Wilder, and Jon Jones in sort of the same light. It's one of those. I'm gonna be an apologist for him for all time. Jon Jones, because he is Jon Jones, because he does that Philippians Bible verse and all that stuff, that was even more of a reason to catch him early with this stuff rather than to let that stuff fester. Like, it just, to me as a fan, like, I've been ignoring this stuff for a long time. Why have you been ignoring it? Because for me, he's not giving me any more. He hasn't given me any fights as of late. So for you, it's the same thing.
But it's 3 reasons. It's obvious. Money, they're fans as well. And then I think there is, like, Mike Winklejohn, I think I forgot what it was beforehand. I forgot what team that was beforehand.
Oh yeah, they did split and all that good stuff.
Yeah, because I remember there was a guy with the war paint. And like I think that used to be that team. I forgot the name of that team. That was like during the early days when only certain
during the
groups
no
of
fear
society did MMA, right?
During the no fear board shorts days.
Yeah, 100%. No fear.
Yeah.
Back then, that's one of those days. I forgot what team that is, but it used to be a popular team. And that's where that team came from. That's where. So I mean, but listen, Jon pretty much put that team on the map.
Yeah.
After Mike Winklejohn, when the whole thing happened, he pretty much put the team on the map. He's pretty much the architect in that team. I mean, there's nobody else, and you're only as good, and you can only charge as much when you have good fighters. I mean, now they have Clarissa Shields, right? If they can get Clarissa Shields up and running, maybe whatever, and maybe that's part of the reason why they kind of think like, okay, maybe we can make a shift. But business-wise, it doesn't make sense. Emotional-wise, I think they actually are very much so really tied to him. So I think there's emotional aspect. There's like 3 reasons. I just think that this one is worse. And if there was ever a time to get off a ship,
it's right goddamn now.
If there's ever a time, like, because you gotta think about it. It's not just and we don't know the details, but it's not just bad. It's just the fact that it's like really bad. Like it's kind of hard. Like, so the little girl has to call the police.
Hard to ignore. I mean, look, the little girl calling the police is less of an act of egregiousness to me than the next day with the John Legend "I'll stay with you" shit. Like, of course,
No.
Of course, I'll stay with you through the good and the bad. Like, I've been watching his whole career. You've been there. Like, of course, I already know this sentiment. So yeah, why even put this out here for me?
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Yeah.
It's a little weird.
Yeah, man. Yeah, blink twice.
Honestly, what makes it weird is that it's so bad that his like enemies are like, what? Like I was watching Daniel Cormier talk about it, and it's just like the level of concern on his voice. Like when John really fucks up, like the elder statesman of Cormier always comes out, right? Because I think as much as as much as we sometimes forget, I think Cormier does want to see African Americans fare well in the sport. Like if you notice, he always looks at the African American fighters and he always kind of bigs them up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't do it unfairly. And of course, he's not going to put them over anybody on AKA, but like, he wants to see more African Americans prevail in the sport. So he's even said it like one of the things that bugs him about John is that he's super talented and he's black and he's like, you keep messing up, right? Yeah. So I think the elder statesman and like Cormier always kind of goes, come on. And it was just like watching that video of him just kind of like, you can kind of see like, hey, like he had this very somber, like I've seen the other ones and he's all like, action pack, but this one, he's kind of just like very somber and like.
Because he's got kids and the kid made the call. And it puts it into a different perspective where you can't really make a joke about it. Like this is a help situation. Like this is bad type shit. But I'm saying we wouldn't have gotten to this point, or we got to this point a hell of a lot faster if they kicked him out that gym a long time ago.
I mean, listen, I don't think that is a wrong point per se. I do believe that there is some responsibility that should be held upon that gym. I just feel that John needs his responsibility.
Oh man,
I think oftentimes what happens is that,
nigga, that's Teflon John.
Yeah, and I'm tired of it.
Charges don't stick. Charges don't stick.
It's just like it's getting to the point where it's corny. It's getting to the point it's corny. Like, listen, Jones.
It's only corny because he uses Jesus in his apologies.
Exactly.
It's only corny because he used Jesus in his apologies. Like
exactly.
it would just be like mean or just asshole.
A badass.
You know what I'm saying? Be a badass if you just did this shit like, oh man, he is what matter of fact, Jon Jones has done more shit outside of the octagon than Diaz. Pick one.
Oh no, yes, definitely.
But they are the bad boys of MMA. That's what I'm saying. Like, bro, like your rope's too long, man. And I guess they're reeling that shit back in, boy. We got away with a lot of shit for a lot of time, and I'm happy for it.
Well, what's interesting about it is that, like, so
jig is up.
So what's going to happen now?
What's going to happen is that he is going to fight heavyweight, and if he loses, it'll be easy to wash him out. But if he wins, God forbid, hey, we might.
Well,
we might
where is he going? Who's going to pick? But who's going to pick him up?
He can go to
John needs a trainer.
He can go to Bellator and make mad money.
No. I'm saying like John needs a trainer.
Oh,
he needs a trainer.
Oh,
Jim's going to pick him up.
Black Zillion?
I couldn't imagine American Top Team picking him up. I couldn't imagine Trevor Whitman picking him up. Maybe what's his name? The dude that used to train GSP. What's his name? Faraz Sahabi, maybe, because
I honestly don't know.
Ronda Rousey's trainer, head movement.
Hey, bro, I watched a documentary on YouTube about that.
I know it.
The other day. It is one of the best documentaries of all time. I believe that man is the greatest trainer of all time. I believe he's the greatest trainer of all time, and the greatest martial artist of all time is Frank Dukes.
Like I said, I don't know. Whatever. I don't know. The greatest martial arts trainer of all time is Johnny from the Karate Kid. But anyways, I don't know what other team is going to pick him up at this point.
Nah, man.
So John needs a trainer. Like John knows enough, but like I think, like if he is staying in the light heavyweight division, he wouldn't need a trainer. He wouldn't. Oh. He could probably win a couple more fights and do his thing. But the fact that he's heavyweight and he put that weight on already, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Unless like these are probably going to be the hardest fights for Jon. I feel.
I would argue that he need a trainer more so in heavyweight than he does. I mean, in light heavyweight than he does in heavyweight, because them, like heavyweight, bro, there's some monsters down there now. Like they're down there like piranhas, bro. Jon Jones look like a snack.
But you got to think about it, like, so I mean, but if he goes heavyweight, like there's Cyril Gane is here now. There's like Curtis Blaydes who's here now. Yeah. There's like Francis Ngannou who's here now. Yeah, Stipe is still pretty darn good. Stipe's here now.
Yeah, I like
it's not fight like Jon should have moved on when like Brock Lesnar was walking around. Like he could have beat those guys.
He tried.
I know.
Brock Lesnar, some for ya. Whatever Cormier said. I'm looking for ya.
Hey man, stop trying to make my man sound corny. You know the first thing about Cormier is that he has two different voices. Cormier code switches like a brother. Hey, I saw him on Sway and he was imitating his brother, and I was like, oh no, okay. Bro. This is like, this voice right here. This is your voice amongst like wrestlers. This is your work voice.
Wrestlers.
Yeah.
When you was wrestling the whole time, this is what you sound like when you was wrestling. When you woke up in the morning and you went to the refrigerator, this is what you sounded like. But when you got to practice, this is what you sounded like. And you spent a lot of time in practice, so this is what we get.
I was like, damn, like when I saw my Sway, I was like, oh, you be code switching like a dog, don't you?
Yeah. Again, I like Jon Jones.
Hey, I like Daniel Cormier.
And then
the funny thing about it, like you make it seem like Jon Jones is like the black.
Yeah, and Jon Jones, yeah.
I was not. Like Jon Jones is the most down brother on the block.
You know, earlier when you was mentioning the things that that Daniel Cormier was doing for black fighters, I was about to say something negative or something to counter that, but then I was like, but I'm here caping for Jon Jones. I have no right to talk about how black Daniel Cormier is or is not.
We probably shouldn't do that at all.
Because have no right.
I mean, just saying, like,
no right.
That's probably not what we should do in this podcast at all. But I mean, if we were to have that conversation, I mean, it wouldn't look. I mean, we can probably go stat for stat. I think Cormier would actually come out on that one. Actually,
yeah. I mean, look, and the fact that it would be a debate is an issue in of itself.
You know, whenever we used to have these conversations off podcasts, I'd always wonder, like, what is he seeing the same thing I'm seeing? Like,
oh yeah, I was definitely seeing the same thing he's seeing.
Okay,
but definitely seeing the same thing. He's noticing everything. I'm just saying that.
Listen, I believe it's toxic for us to argue about who's what. There's many different spectrums of that rainbow, and all of them are considered amongst the rainbow. So I have nothing to say about that. I'm not going to say anything about that. That's
man.
A you thing. But anyways,
I mean, you scared, but I said what I said, and I didn't say anything bad at all. I said I wasn't going to do that.
I feel you.
Bottom line.
I know. Okay.
The next round, man. Next round. Let's get to the next round.
All right. Okay, so going on to the next round. Speaking of these type of topics, going on to the next round. So last fight, and we don't want to make this a Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury fight. Podcast. We don't want to make this a Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder podcast, but I would be remiss. So after the aftermath of the fight, so first and foremost, of course, if you don't know, unless you're under the rock, you probably wouldn't listen to this anyways, unless you're under but you would know, if you listen to this podcast, 9 times out of 10, you know that 2 weeks ago, we got one of the greatest heavyweight fights ever, which is the usual consensus, the consensus amongst most of the right? That watched the fight. Every single person.
Like that was some entertaining shit.
I mean, like everybody. Like like you name them.
If you
Kellerman,
and if you cared, bro, oh my God, that was an amazing fight.
Super amazing fight.
However,
no matter what side of the point that you're on. No matter what side of the point you're on. So and no matter what, everyone that I have witnessed has been congratulatory to both fighters, regardless of whatever they did during the fight, because the fight was so great. Yeah. And everyone understood how great of a moment it is. What I've seen is interesting that has been arisen is that there's been a lot of backlash in regards because as of late, the recording of Deontay Wilder's exchange after the fight, after he got knocked out, has been made public on social media. Now, mind you, the recording doesn't show anything different than what Tyson Fury showed us right after the fight. I tried to shake the man's hand. I tried to congratulate him, and he wouldn't do it. Hopefully, the Lord will soften his heart. I mean, as you can tell, Tyson Fury was a little disturbed by it. He seemed pretty disturbed by it. As they kept asking him more and more questions, because that's what the media does, he got more and more in his bag and got more and more disturbed by it, and he kind of spoke to it. First, it was kind of like, hopefully the Lord soften his heart. Then he was kind of like, he's a dosser, he's a bum, blah, 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 so on and so forth.
What did he say? What he believes in the first place.
Yeah, what he believes in the first place.
What he believes in the first place.
But what I will also say is that every interview I saw, Tyson Fury had always acknowledged Deontay Wilder. He's always acknowledged Deontay Wilder because like Max Kellerman says, like Tyson Fury says, who fought him, the only person that could beat Deontay is me. Now, what I find interesting is that the typical trolls, this fight has been so good that even the typical trolls who usually would be critical of a Deontay Wilder, there's several pundits that you can probably guess would be very critical of Deontay Wilder. Even they have been very congratulatory of Deontay Wilder. They've talked about the mistakes he made. They talked about, maybe he put weight in the wrong area, so on and so forth. A lot of people said a lot of things. And a lot of these people have relationships with Mark Breland, and they don't necessarily agree with how Deontay Wilder accused Mark Breland of X, Y, and Z, whatever the case may be. And it's not just Mark Breland. They've been, since Deontay Wilder has been a champion, there have been people who have been very critical about his boxing ability, right? Everyone's said X, Y, and Z. But, at the end of the day, this fight seemed to be so amazing that everybody, all the usual trolls have spun it in a positive light. They said, hey, this, and that. We don't know if he's coming back, so on and so forth. The Shannon Sharps, the Skip Baylesses, the Stephen A. Smiths, the whoever, the who's who. I haven't really found too many people who are just blah, 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 blah. The only thing that I've been
they definitely out there.
Yeah, there's a lot. The only thing I've been able to see a lot of negative in regards to Deontay Wilder is from a very specific group of people. African Americans on social media. Now, we don't have a racial podcast, essentially, even though we're two black fellas, but it's a little remiss. It's a little weird that the individuals that you would assume to be the first people to maybe understand Deontay, maybe the individuals, the first to maybe see, whatever, seem to be the first people that are dragging him across the ground and saying X, Y, and Z. Now, I understand the comedians, the Ha Davises, the comedians, the social media comedians taking this as opportunity to make whatever, the Ace Veins and so on and so forth. That is their job. That is what they do. If Tyson Fury got knocked out, they would have done the same thing too. It doesn't matter for them. It's just about entertainment or whatever. And Ha Davis's video was funny. It was really funny. He captured a moment that I forgot Deontay looked like that with the and it made it was perfect. It was perfect. Comedy is comedy. But what I don't understand is this overall just like emphasis. Like I almost roped myself into a back and forth debate. And one of the things that was said to me was in social media, one of the things that was said to me was he made $10 million. He made 10. So my response was the comment was, he's not a man to me. I was like, that's pretty steep. He just got knocked out. A poor man can get knocked out, whatever. Stand up, shake that man's hand. You just made $10 million. Get up and learn how to box.
Yeah.
Now, what's weird to me is that, okay, first of all, that man had to drag him to court to make $10 million, which is the agreement that they already had. Number one, as far as that's concerned, shake the man's hands. Well, they don't like each other. Like Tyson Fury may have just been doing it to sell the fight.
No, but Deontay Wilder was.
Deontay Wilder may not have. Did Paulie Malignaggi shake Adrian Broner's hand after he beat him? No.
Did Tom Brady shake Eli Manning's hand?
No. Did he shake? I mean, so
saying,
what I'm not understanding, what I don't understand is this concept we choose to pick and this morality concept that sometimes exists in these things. Now, I've been guilty of it. I've used my own morality clause to say why I dislike Jon Jones. And I've had to check myself and say, hey, well, listen, despite whatever, the real reason why I don't like Jon Jones is because he keeps beating the fella I like, which is Daniel Cormier. That's why you don't like him. It has nothing to do with whatever. Like, now, as a person of faith, I would like you to please just do your fuck shit. Don't bring the Jesus and the God and all. Just do your fuck shit. Just do it. Just do it on your own, please, for me. But other than that, I mean, you're going to me, buddy. You're going to Pony Boy. Like, that's it. Like, that's all I have. So I have no issues with Jon. You know, I look, as long as Jon doesn't, he's not going to fight Cormier anymore.
Nah.
Who knows if he can beat Adesanya? So, you know what I'm saying? Like, we don't have no issues. Like, ever since now that I know that he's never going to find or encounter any of my fighters, that I don't care about Jon.
You're safe now.
It's easy for me to acknowledge Jon's greatness. Jon is great. He's a great fighter. One of the greatest MMA fighters ever. I don't understand this concept of just like this morality clause that we inject into everything. Like, just because you would do it and you don't know what you would do, because 9 times out of 10, you've never gotten to a boxing ring and you've never gotten to a boxing ring, fought in the amateurs, went Golden Gloves, got a bronze medal in the Olympics, knock out 40 people, and fight one of the greatest heavyweight fighters we've seen this generation. Yeah. I want everybody to understand that Tyson Fury is probably the greatest heavyweight we've seen since the Holyfield Tyson era.
Bro, and a lot of people are not putting that kind of respect on his name. But as far as the people going after Deontay Wilder, basically, the king is dead, long live the king. Mayweather didn't get beat. Mayweather still holds people's heads in boxing. Had Deontay Wilder won that fight, would have been a different story. Those same people making those same jokes would have been making jokes about Tyson Fury. That's just how that goes, man.
But Renzo, it's not about the jokes. I get the jokes. It's he should have done this. He's not a man. He should stuff. Yeah, it's a little weird. Like, I get the jokes. Like, we are a cynical people. That's what we do. If you lose and I see it, haha. Like, I used to chuckle at people. Look, I've been on dates and I've chuckled at the girl that tripped while I was on date. Did I get none that night? No, I didn't. But hey, whatever inside of me made me laugh. That's stupid. But
to the point,
I did it.
We've seen this before because it happens a lot. It just happens on different levels. I mean, Deontay Wilder is not a man to him. Just like probably and possibly KD ain't a man for going to Golden State.
No. Oh, definitely.
You know what I'm saying? It's the same crowd of people. It's the same crowd of people. This superstar athlete that is doing something that you can't do makes a decision or, loses a fight. And to say he's not a man, the man, like he had the opportunity to quit. He had the opportunity to have someone stop the fight. But no, I'm going to go, like, if I'm losing, I'm going to lose. Bottom line. I'm going to lose for real, which is more masculine
to interject, which is what has made most of the trolls, pundits, and usual people that have something to say about Deontay Wilder shut up. They go, look, we can't say anything about that.
Because he went out on his shield, because it's all any boxer ever asks. Any warrior ever asks, any gladiator movie, anything like that we've seen.
And he made it a fight. He made it a fight.
Yeah, absolutely. The entire time he was standing up, he had an opportunity to win that fight. And that is a testament to the man, great boxing skills or not. Like, it's funny how people react to certain losses. Mikey Garcia just fought this weekend, and arguably Mikey Garcia was in the bottom half, 6 through 10, pound for pound. The only fight he's lost in his career was a fight to Earl Spence, and he moved up in weight to get that fight. He just lost to a guy whose box rec looks like, I don't know, some of the records on his it looked like pre-depression, it like depression era boxing records on there, man. Like, he's got someone like 17 and 41, 12 and 15. And these are people that this guy that Mikey Garcia just fought, who was one of the top pound for pound fighters, allegedly, just fought. All the guys he fought in his last 5 fights have maybe a 40% winning percentage. We're not talking trash cans, bro. Well, trash cans considered where we are. But this man just went out there and beat Mikey Garcia. And it's not getting the same reaction as Deontay Wilder losing to what they considered being the best fighter of his generation, or the best fighter of this era, which goes to show you that the goalposts will be moved, and it's not really about him as a boxer, it's about him as a man. There's something about these people that are hating on this man that they don't like about themselves, something that they are probably doing, some of the things that they're giving up, some of the humbleness, the humble pie that they're eating on a daily basis. This man refuses to eat, and it bothers him. Like, what makes you any different? I gotta eat this shit. You eat it too. And Deontay Wilder keeps saying, no, I got one of the most powerful right hands of all time. I ain't gotta eat that shit.
I just don't get it, man. I don't get it. Like, I don't get how you watch that fight and don't appreciate that. Like, regardless of whatever. And then the crazy thing, the final thing is that Deontay, after he probably left the hospital, got rehydrated, probably got off his concussion.
He had 3 or 4 days. Bro.
Went on his social media. He had an opportunity to say X, Y, and Z. And then he said, hey, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
And to that point, it took him from February to October 31st for him to say something about the second fight. It's just not in his character. It's not what he does, man. So
he did, right after he got knocked out, which he, for the second time, like, regardless of whatever the case may be, like, I don't understand this concept of, like, people not understanding people are human beings. As a human being, you can get what we.
Yo.
I just don't understand this concept of, like, oh, so because you make a lot of money, then all of a sudden, like, you are supposed to be this celestial being. It doesn't exist. That's not a thing. Like, that is just a regular person who's really, really good at whatever he's really, really good at.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. Like, the same issues that you have, they have. The same self-consciousness they have, you have. So I'm pretty sure that you've been in a job and someone has made more money than you, and you haven't been congratulatory about it. And you've said that you do this, and this better than that individual in your head, or to your spouse, or to whatever the case may be. Is that man-like behavior? But it's okay for you to do it. But if Deontay Wilder gets beat, let's just say this. Let's imagine the worst things about his character are true. He's a sourpuss, a sore loser. He didn't probably have a concussion. He just didn't want to give Tyson Fury the credit. So we all do that. Just the fact that they make money or whatever the case may be, what is this morality clause that we're putting into these fighters? That is just a dude, a black man from Alabama who made some of himself. That's it.
Who made some of himself on behalf of his daughter, because he only stepped into that boxing gym because he wanted to be able to afford the treatments that his daughters would receive.
Because it was expensive.
Great story, man. Great story.
He was delivering beer. I think he was delivering beer.
We had delivering beer and working at IHOP. But this is the things you get for running out there acting like Apollo Creed and giving a shot to any bum out there on the street.
I just feel like for as much as Deontay Wilder tries to embrace the culture, right? I figured the culture would embrace him back. It's just weird. Like, at the end of the day, the culture, it was the same people that was dragging him from walking out there with that mech suit on. But if you look at the mech suit, it was like this whole Black Power, Black King suit that he had on. But it was the culture that dragged him for wearing it.
Well,
he came out with the garb, with the whole African garb. He had a freaking loincloth thing. He came out with loaded Lux. Like, the culture, I figured the culture would be like, hey, we'll embrace that dude. But if the culture is like, he's trash. It's weird,
bro.
It is weird. Hold on. It's weird to see that from the culture, but then I go on Joe Rogan's podcast. And
I don't understand
you got Joe Rogan. Why. You got Joe Rogan slowing down the punches to be like, hey, listen, guys, if you don't understand what Deontay Wilder is, slow this down. Look at the body fat. That's for one punch. Deontay Wilder is a special human being. He's this, and that, and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, listen, this is a podcast about fighting. It is a podcast about fighting, verbal fighting, kick fighting, wrestle fighting, elbow fighting, punch fighting, right? We typically don't get into these subject matters. But one thing I would say about this is this. There's nothing that is more political. There's nothing that is more oftentimes racial than boxing. And sometimes when you look at boxing, we have to understand is that when you see other boxers and they do other things that the culture doesn't like, and you wonder why, this is why.
Well,
you're welcome.
To your point, or to discuss part of your point about wow, I'm losing myself trying to figure out how to say this, but there were like we have the benefit of hindsight, we have the benefit of living in the future, but there were definitely people of the culture going for Joe Frazier.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So like,
but
it's been.
Well,
like,
let me ask you this. Was Joe Frazier that? I mean, at that point, you're dealing with two individuals. I mean, was Joe Frazier like? Joe Frazier wasn't he like a hometown hero from Philly and all that other stuff? Like,
bro, it ain't about what he is. It's what he is allowed to be represented as or presented as. If you are out there not speaking like Ali, not talking, not walking, not moving like Ali while Ali talking, then of course there's a certain segment of America that thinks you're causing trouble. And I ain't talking about the people that we would normally talk about. I'm talking, there's a certain segment of America, and then we've seen it in regards to how a certain other person treated Malcolm X that doesn't like you kicking up that shit that you kicking. Hey, somebody need to shut him up because he's making it hard out here for people like us. Get him, Joe. I'm just saying, that was out there. It was a lot of people out there hoping that Joe Frazier will shut this dude up because he's making it hot in these streets for where I am.
Okay, that's fair. I just think that it's a little, I get it. I get what you're saying. And I guess it is akin to it. It's that same mentality. I just think it's just a little weird. I don't know if it's necessarily that same mentality, but I'll say, I just think it's just a little weird. And I'm not here to be critical of the culture because I love the culture. But what I would say about the culture is make it make sense.
Hey man, the culture is like
make
the
it make
streets.
sense.
The culture is like the streets. Shit is a myth. Don't exist.
I think the culture exists. But hey,
man.
That's something for chopping up with Renzo.
Yeah.
Chopping up with Renzo. We can discuss the culture and the streets exist.
Yeah.
Here to the body, all I would say to the individuals that are akin to represent themselves to that is, at the end of the day, I'm not saying that you should like a boxer who's not good, because Deontay Wilder is clearly good. Regardless of whatever you think about how sloppy Deontay Wilder is or his footwork or whatever, he knocked out 41 people out of 43 fights. 40 of them. One was named Luis Ortiz. Some of your favorite fighters can't beat Luis Ortiz. That's why they don't fight him. That's why they don't fight him. And if you don't know who Luis Ortiz is, you don't have no right to comment on what Deontay Wilder is good at or not good at. If you don't know who Luis Ortiz is.
Most of those dudes just met their favorite fighter in Tyson Fury because that's the first heavyweight fight they've watched in a long time. and it's a testament to who brought him there, because it wasn't Tyson Fury that sold that fight.
And let's be clear. Even if you don't know who Luis Ortiz is or who any of other Deontay Wilder's opponents is, or even if you don't understand that he's defended his belt, how many times he's defended his belt and already a Hall of Fame boxer, even if you don't understand that he's already a Hall of Fame boxer, which is okay. The simple fact is this: Tyson Fury ended the Klitschko era. Klitschko's already beat Joshua kind of just finished it, but Klitschko was already beat. Tyson Fury ended that.
Yeah.
First fight, almost lost to Deontay Wilder. Third fight, almost lost to Deontay Wilder. In fact, the third fight, after he beat the mess out of Deontay Wilder the second time, was probably the worst fight he's ever been in. He himself said it.
Yeah.
He himself said it.
Yeah.
If you don't respect him, you have to respect the Kingmaker. Who like, why is it that Tyson Fury is saying that I am the only person that can beat him?
Yeah. Bro, respect the shooter. Respect the shooter. Or as they say,
your king is already telling you who he is.
So your favorite
your king is already telling you who he is.
Your favorite rapper's favorite rapper. Like, respect that. It's your favorite ball player's favorite ball player. Respect that. That's all I ask. It's like,
and honestly,
if you're a fan of Tyson Fury now, talk about Deontay Wilder the way Tyson Fury talk about.
And honestly feel Tyson Fury went over to say thank you because he was appreciative. Because I think he understands, had you not gave me that first opportunity,
well,
I wouldn't be here.
That, and I believe he went over there because Tyson Fury is a fan of boxing. Like, Tyson Fury knew what he just did. He knew what he just accomplished. You know what I'm saying?
He knew what he just beat.
Like, yeah, I gotta go over here because, bro, I'm literally a part of history.
He just beat this generation's George Foreman.
Bro, since Deontay Wilder said Tyson Fury's name, that man went from not boxing for 2 years to having 5 fights. 5.
And I just want everybody to understand that in the first press conference, he said, just like I gave Luis Ortiz the opportunity,
I'm going to give you.
I'm going to give Tyson Fury the opportunity because Joshua and them over there are not fighting anybody.
Nah, man.
I'm going to give Tyson Fury. We're going to make this fight.
And they did, bro. And they gave us 3 of the best fights I've ever watched in my life. Eventually, I'll make it to watching the 3rd one again. It's going to take me a while. It's going to take me some time. It might be one of the ones I saved from 10 years down the road. But, hey, that was a hell of a night. It was a hell of an up-down experience. I appreciated every single minute of that shit at the end of it because I am a boxing fan at the end of the day, and that shit was good for me.
Listen, I'm a person that, I'll say this and I'll close as far as this round is concerned. I'm a person that believes that, your opinion is valid and whatever your opinion, you have your rights to your opinion.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not a person that feels that opinion should be censored. The only thing I ask in individuals is if you have an opinion and if your opinion is unpopular, please be able to defend said opinion. It's okay to say that you don't like Deontay Wilder's style.
Yeah.
I didn't like Mayweather's style. I preferred Roy Jones.
Yeah.
It was more entertaining. I preferred Pacquiao. It was more entertaining. Whatever. But what I can never fix my mouth to say, especially when I saw him fight Maidana the second time, is he was bad. There's nothing about what that man does that's bad. There isn't. It just wasn't for me. Yeah. It's okay for you to state what your opinion is as far as Deontay Wilder is concerned. You could state that he can't fight, but then you have to explain how did he beat 40 individuals, especially if you look on some of those names and you look at those records and realize they're not tomato cans. And then you look at the record that 40 people that he knocked out, right? And you look at them and you compare them to the other individuals that I call the 3 kings, right? There's that documentary, The 4 Kings. I call it, well, I guess it technically is the 4 kings, right? Because Usyk big, Joshua, right? Yeah. Whatever. But if you look at the records of the other,
New king on the block.
Yeah, new king on the block. But if you look at the records of the other 3 kings, Deontay's is a tougher record.
Yeah, man.
By far.
Yeah. I mean,
the only thing Tyson, you have to give Tyson, he beat Klitschko. He ended the Klitschko era. But after that, he didn't fight David Haye. He didn't
do anything for 2 years. And then he fought Deontay Wilder. And he fought Otto Wallin and Maurice Watts. And then he fought Deontay Wilder 2 more times. So that's all he's been doing, bro.
And even then, still one of the greatest fighters of our generation.
Yeah, bro. Because no one can do what we just saw him do. And we know that for a fact because we've seen everybody succumb to some punch, and we all know that Deontay Wilder's punch is harder than all the other ones. It's the bottom line. Hate to use the triangle theory, but I mean, it's something about the faces of that right hand that just make things a little different.
Well, with that being said, that concludes my round. Do we have a round 3, Renzo?
We don't have a round 3 today at all, man. We actually did 2 hours, well, about a full hour, 2 rounds just now. So we're right on the cusp right there, man.
Okay. Well, guys, it will conclude our segment of Two to the Body. As of late, we've only been doing 2 rounds. Maybe we'll choose some shorter topics and maybe give you 3, so we can cut it to that 45 minute hour. Keep it still underneath an hour. But we appreciate you guys liking, sharing, subscribing to the podcast. We appreciate you guys watching the podcast, and definitely please let us know what your thoughts are on what the camp should do with Jon Jones, or what you feel about Deontay Wilder. If you feel Deontay Wilder is a bum, let us know. We'll definitely educate you. We'll definitely educate you in the comments. We have no problem doing that. We'll definitely educate you in the comments. Not an issue. So definitely, please like, share, subscribe. This is your boy Money Mark signing off with my boy One Way Renzo. Peace, y'all.
Boxing.
Damn right.
Kill the body, the head will die. Ollie Frazier fight.